Let's talk about Jimmy Guns. Jimmy freaking Guns over here, huh? Of course, we're going to talk about when it comes to Henry Cavill because something was brought up. Obviously, I think I posted on Threads. I know he's still posting on there, but somebody asked him about Superman, his Superman. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. At first, obviously we've been talking a lot about Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman 3 these past couple of weeks because of recent interviews that were not really that recent. They were 2 months ago, obviously before the writer's strike, and everything that's been happening with that. And then, of course, people are like, where's James Gunn? Where's James Gunn? Why hasn't he talked about this whole Wonder Woman 3 thing? It's like, well, he can't talk about, when it comes to them, when it comes to actors, when it comes to things in development, he can't really talk about it too much, even though he's a director. He could talk a little bit about it because the directors aren't on strike, but can't talk about certain things when it comes to actors or even writers when it comes to all that. So obviously can't do it. And it's always funny too because the hypocrisy is beautiful because the people who want him to talk about this whole situation were telling him to shut the fuck up months ago. That's what I don't understand. But anyways, we're going to go into this right here. So let's first stroll down Jim's. Yeah, that's right. I'm calling him Jim. Let's go down his Twitter because he has been posting on Twitter as well. Because let's face it, Threads. Okay. So first off, a few days ago, he did post about Conrad Veidt. I always forget. But of course, the inspiration for the Joker right here. He did post about this. He posted about this on social media, which was kind of interesting. So it's like, all right, is the Joker in the DCU going to be something like that? Cool. With all the Wonder Woman talk, all of a sudden he's talking about Hysteria. Historia is a beautiful work of sequential art and one of the best things to come out of DC, It's just kind of talking about Wonder Woman, the Amazons, but not quite talking about Wonder Woman 3 or Diana. From number 63 to number 1 in DC books on Amazon since this post. I'm excited for all of us to check it out. So here's the screenshot right here. When we're talking about Superman, and one of the things I wanted to talk about when it came to Cavill Superman and everything that happened. So this person right here said, so in Blue Beetle, at least in the commercial, Jaime knows who Superman is, and you've said Blue Beetle is in your DCU. So is yours, I guess he meant, young Superman movie set in the past, so he said, so your young Superman movie is set in the past? And James Gunn said, I was never making a young Superman movie, just a Superman movie. Huh? Did anybody else not get that? I was kind of thinking, I think it wasn't supposed to be an origin story that was always talked about. It was already a developed Superman. That's what's so interesting about that. I think a lot of us grasp that idea that, yeah, it was going to be that. But of course, there's always, anytime that there's talk about age, especially when it came to Gal Gadot, they're like, okay, if they're keeping Gal, then why couldn't they keep Henry? And then I've been thinking about this, and then I remember even Chris Wong Swenson today talked about okay, so what is actually the deal? It wasn't an age thing. And I went no, to me, it's never been an age thing when it came to why he didn't want to go with Cavill Superman. It was never an age thing. It was just the fact that Cavill Superman, a lot of shit happened with Cavill Superman already. So you have Superman that basically reveals himself. Lois already knows who he is. So there's none of that. There's none of that Clark Kent and Lois kind of stuff. She already knows who it is. Takes on Zod, reveals himself, takes on Zod. A lot of destruction happens. So then when it comes to BVS, there's backlash, and you got an older, weathered Batman that's going to take him out. And of course, you got all the political stuff, and you have everything that happens in BVS, the divisiveness of that. It all happens there. And then what happens at the end? He dies. He gets killed. And then you got Justice League. They bring him back to fight and save the world with a fresh-faced Justice League. And then you have a pregnant Lois. So this is where I go, yeah, it's actually kind of understandable that James Gunn was like, well, there's an idea of Superman over here that I was kind of thinking of. And what Snyder did, it's yeah, he did that. That's what Snyder did. So James is I'm not going to just build off of that. I'm just going to do something different. You know, how I always took it. I'm like, yeah, he could have kept Henry Cavill and just did a different Superman, but the same people would be pissed. The same people would be pissed. They were pissed about Black Adam at one point. They didn't like that Cavill came back with that. That's the thing, is like, no matter what, if Cavill would have stayed and James Gunn would have still used him, they would have changed. He would have ended up changing his backstory. That is kind of what's happening with Gal Gadot. If they end up doing that Wonder Woman 3 that fits into the DCU, guess what? Her backstory is going to get changed. That's why it's like, why would we even want this? I mean, I've seen people that are still like mad about James Gunn not using Cavill. I'm like, would you really want him to use Henry Cavill? He's doing like a different, he wants a Superman that is already established, that there's other heroes that are established. That's why we're going to have a Green Lantern and a Hawk Girl. And, you know, there's already going to be people that are going to be established. So it's not like he's doing an origin story. This Superman has probably been around for at least, you know, a few years maybe. I don't know.